Today we have with us Dr. S.G. Gopalakrishna. Thank you, sir, for giving us the opportunity to come to speak to you and hear your thoughts on education. So begin.
Thank you very much, Manashri, for giving us this opportunity to express ourselves uh, and to interact with you and exchange the ideas and knowledge.
Right.
Thank you for the opportunity provided.
So I'd
Yes.
like to begin with the first question for today. So, being the director of Nagarjuna Group of Institutions, what is your philosophy of leadership and how would you describe your leadership style?
Leadership from the books, the definition is different. But in reality, the leadership means you should take the team together. The team means there are different teams here. Number one, in any engineering institution, the topmost team is the faculty team. You should take all your teaching staff with you. Number two, the student team, the learners team. So they should also be with you. If you are an effective leader, you can satisfy the students with their wants and needs, whatever is their requirement. If it can be fulfilled by a leader, he is a true leader. The third one is the parents and other mentors team, which also needs to be attended to because they are also a component. They also need to participate in their children's learning. See, only when they encourage the students to learn with all the necessary help, then students will be comfortable and they learn better. Whatever the learning that happens will be very effective. The fourth dimension of that is our all our legal entities, be it the All India Council for Technical Education, be it UGC, be it Government of India, or even be it Vishwesvaraya Technological University, the university to which we are attached. So, all these agencies, we should have proper contact with them and see that we fulfill the norms of those agencies. Whatever rules and regulations that are defined by these agencies, we should fulfill them at the institute level. Then only a full fledged leadership can be executed. So, this is the true leadership in any engineering institution. The success of the leader is also, in today's terminology, it is the outcome based education what we talk. So, when we say outcome based education, the input parameters are less significant. Input parameters means your classroom, whether it is fixed with AC, whether you have granite in the classroom, all such facilities, how many classrooms you have, how many laboratories you have, all those are input facilities. But the output is the performance of the students in the competitive world, how they get themselves placed, how they get and how they can work for the contribution and the betterment of the industries as a whole, or the organizations to which they join, how they contribute there for the growth of that organization. That is how the success of the students is measured. It is not just the grade card. Grade card or the marks card, what you say, is only one passport, that's all, nothing else. But ultimately, how the skill development of the students has been achieved. Right when they enter the engineering institution, they would have studied only the science subjects. The application of science is engineering. Therefore, how best they can apply their knowledge of both science and technology, that results in the outcome. Okay. So, the effective leadership, yeah, a true leader should take all these groups and components together with him. They should also march ahead.
Yeah. So next question would be being the director of Nagarjuna Group of Institutions, how do you strategize about the key programs and plans for the marketing and administration of your institute?
Key programs, see what happens is in all our boards, curriculum design, when we do it in consultation with the industry. We take the experts from the academics as well as from the industry. And then we form the syllabus. Whatever is the requirement of the industry, if I can fulfill that, that is the best marketing. See, what happens ultimately, if a student who studies in our college, if he can get the placement after his graduation or during the last year of his graduation, if they can get the placement, that is the best part. So, towards that direction, what we should do is initially the framing of the curriculum. Wherever it is possible, invite the industry people to come and teach those courses, because technology is advancing in the industry. We may not get the faculty who are trained in those areas. So, in such cases, expert lectures can be arranged from the industry, thereby, the students will be benefited. And thirdly, the students should get the skill development component imbibed into them. Ultimately, what happens is, I'll tell you, any industry, any organization will accept our children if they have the proper skill set, proper attitude. The soft skill part also, I fully agree, endorse. Then the industry will accept such people. If the industry accepts such people, see, our marketing could be our own students. The students who are going out of the portals of the college, if they are satisfied, nothing better than that. That is the best part of marketing. If they are satisfied, they will tell their friends, they will tell their parents, they will tell their counterparts and all such things. Today you have social media and all these digital marketing, all that in place. So therefore, you can strategize your all other technical part of it, the be it the Facebook, Twitter, whatever you want to use, you can use for the marketing strategy. But they're all in a way fast information flow, but the real information flow is from the students and parents. Partly parents also will agree with that. If the parents are happy, then they'll bring in more other such students who are nearby them or from their native place. All such things will happen. Thereby, automatically the marketing is done. Yeah.
So I'll move ahead with the next question.
Okay.
The education systems in India and other foreign countries are structured very differently. In your experience, what can an inbound student gain from studying here in your institute?
Madam, one important difference I would like to say here, that the new national education policy has come in place now. It is at the entry phase now. People are introducing that at the top level institutions and research institutions, all that. Now, we implemented this in 2015 itself. A part of it is not directly the NEP that we have taken. We have implemented some things like, for example, we have what is called the integrated course. Supposing I teach one course, say a basic electronics course, instead of just teaching that course on board with white and or with a PPT, what we do is we take the students to the laboratory, we make them to assemble there, we make them to solder there, we make them to have their own kit, basic electronics kit, and thereby they should have trial and error, and then they should learn how a triode, how a diode will work and things like that. See, practically when they see, they learn better. So teaching inside the classroom will be more effective if the students are taken to the laboratory. It is like the doctors have the internship and house internship and things like that. At the end of the 4.5 years, they are sent to the hospital only to have the practical exposure of the patients, direct interaction with the patient, and direct the screening or checking of the patient will give them a lot of exposure what they have studied in the book. So, book information is one part only, but the other part is the skill development, how best we can have and understand that knowledge and how best we can apply that. That will happen only when the students are taken to the laboratory. Therefore, we introduce the concept of the integrated course, number one. Then secondly, we introduce one more very, very good initiative called the virtual lab. In the virtual lab, the physical laboratory will not be present, but in the system, they can log into the laboratory or an equipment which is housed in IIT Mumbai, for example, or in NITK Surathkal, or Amma University in Cochin. See, in all these institutes, centrally funded labs will be there. That equipment, which may be very costly equipment, can be used by our students and staff. Thereby, they can perform experiment and they can derive the result out of that. Thereby, their whatever they study inside the classroom will be more effective. So, like that, we have brought in lot of such changes only to inculcate the skill development component in the students. This is the feedback given by the industry people. And after that, we have started implementing all these things and we have done these things, quite a number of these things. Thereby, the students get the hands-on experience. Yeah. And the foreign universities you are mentioning, we have some tie-up with some of the foreign universities as well. We send our students there for a month or 1.5 months. That is actually 6 weeks program, wherein they will be trained under the guidance of a professor in that university. These students will stay there, go and stay there in their campus, and they will study there for 1.5 months, and then they will do some project work there. The interesting part is they will do some project work. They learn many things there, and at the end of the study period, they should submit a report to that professor in that university, and they should also submit a report to the institution here, our institution, and the final assessment by that professor of this candidate should also be submitted to our college. Thereby, they get a lot of exposure. We have seen students who have been sent to this kind of foreign international internship, what we call. These international internships have given them a lot of insight, and it has opened up the minds of the young people. And they have studied there not only the technology part of the exercise, but they have studied the living experience and the timekeeping with the foreign professors. 8 o'clock is 8 o'clock morning. It is not 8:05 or it is not 7:55. Like that. See, all those small things which cannot be taught, they learn there with their self-experience, and thereby they come and implement that here also. That way, the overall personality of the students will be developed. They get the international exposure. Not all students are going. International students we are sending now. Probably in the years to come, maybe we have to have more and more such international internships.
Okay. That's amazing to know, sir. And the next question I head to is, how does the curriculum of Nagarjuna College of Engineering ensure the best practice of industry?
Yeah, curriculum part, I think I have already touched on that. Industry people will come and design our curriculum. They come for teaching, they come for guest lectures, all that. And we also send our students to the industries for the exposure. One interesting incident I'll tell you here. See, what we have designed is, particularly for civil engineering, we have Nagarjuna Construction Company, which is the second largest construction company in the country. Our college is supported by them, and it is our chairman, Sri J.V. Rangaraju, he is the director of NCC Limited, who are doing all these metro projects in Kanakpura Road. They are doing metro in different states as well. Now, what we have done is, our civil engineering students, one batch of 60 students will be sent to 6 sites, such 6 sites in our state itself. Be it a building construction site, be it the white topping work, be it the multi-story building at IIM Bangalore, be it the metro construction. All these sites, we send 10 students to each site. We send them for a duration of 1 month, and they will be guided by the site engineer there. And after 1 month, they will be rotated to the next site. Thereby, in some site, they will study about the structure. In some site, they will be studying about the soil mechanics. In some site, they will be studying about the construction methodologies and maintenance, all such things. So, a student will get the exposure in all fields. So, after 6 months, they would have been rotated in 6 sites. Then, at the end, they will be submitting a report on that. This way also we have incorporated, and the students have expressed, while studying in the college itself, they are getting the practical exposure of the industry practice. So this has given them a good exposure, and many of them during the placement job mela that we have conducted for civil engineering exclusively, many of them have performed very well, and they got placed in good companies, including NCC. Yeah, like this, we have a lot of such skill development components imbibed into this system. Because we are an autonomous college, we have some flexibility in the curriculum design and the schedule also. Thereby, we do all these.
Great, sir.
Yeah.
So I move ahead to the next question then. What do you think your roles and responsibilities to the college and the students are?
As a head of the institution, see, I have worked as principal earlier, and now I am the director now. Now, I should fulfill the needs of the students. That is the primary job that I have. Whatever is the requirement. We have a huge hostel blocks. We have 8 blocks of boys hostel and 3 blocks of girls hostel on campus. We have 100-acre campus, which is a very vast one, and we have all facilities there. The gymnasium facility, the sports facility, stacked library with digital library. All such facilities we have. Good established laboratories we have. We should see that the students make use of all these things in a very effective way. That is the primary role. When they make use of that, they learn better. Secondly, faculty should work as mentors. They are not really outsiders, they are insiders. They should just act like the parents of these children. It is only then an effective bondage between the faculty and the student will be built one-to-one. That interaction will definitely strengthen, and the advantage is when the faculty will involve in such mentoring and talking and discussing with the students also, the students will have more freedom to ask questions. Whatever doubts they have, that inhibition will go away. Initially, they will have that inferiority complex. I should not ask this question, my teacher may something. All that will go away only when a freedom and a free bond is established between the two. So students will also come forward with all their doubts, and the teachers can clarify those doubts. See, that way, learning will be very, very healthy and very effective.
Right.
So therefore, my role there is, that is one major role, the students' learnability part. All our system should be student-centric. So when we do such activities, student-centric activities, we have, for example, the clubs. Different clubs are there in the campus, including the cultural clubs, all that sports clubs, and we have also these photography club. They go for outside photography, and we call Nikon specialists, and they come and train our students for 3 days, 4 days, like that. Outside photography they take up, morning sunrise photography, evening sunset, all such things they do. And we invite experts for coaching martial arts, especially for the girls. See, girls today, they have a lot of exposure. That self-defense mechanism for the girls is very, very important, which is not taught anywhere. Therefore, what we have done is we have introduced this martial arts as a credit course. We give credit for that. We give marks and credit for that. And we invite outside experts to train our young girls on the self-defense mechanism. When they pass out of the portals of the college, they have to join some industry, and they are exposed to a lot of such problems. So at that time, they will be requiring this kind of self-defense mechanisms, which also is being taught in our college. Like this, see, whatever is the need of the society and the student, that we should think positively and then try to arrange all these things. Apart from all our conferences, seminars, all that exposure, these are some things which also needs to be exposed and arranged. So thereby the students will have a very comfortable studying atmosphere in the campus. This we do.
Great.
Yeah. And as the director, see, our management is magnanimous. What they have done is they have arranged some scholarship scheme for the students. If a student secures, say, in the CET ranking, we measure the merit from the CET ranking. If they secure, say, less than 5,000 rank, we give them free seat. Entire expense of their studies is taken up by the management foundation. We have a separate foundation for that and a separate funding given by the management. That fund will take care of these children, including their hostel stay. Up to 2,000 rank, we give full free. Hostel fees is also free. Food and other expenses are taken care by the management. Their tuition fees, books, all such things is taken care by the management. Up to 5,000 rank, we have some scholarship like that. Up to 10,000, up to 25,000, we have 50% scholarship. All such schemes are there, which directly will go as a financial benefit to the parents and the students. This is another arrangement which we have done in our college.
Great, sir. So, what would you like people to know about your institution that they may not know about?
Yeah, the scholarship scheme which I have pronounced now, many of the parents, they do not know about this. I think they should know about this, because it is only when they know what is the facility they get in terms of money, what is the facility they get in terms of their financial help. Today, every parent is suffering, and it is more so because of the corona now. There are a lot of economic problems, and because of that, the income and the inflow, cash inflow for many parents has been reduced. So therefore, some kind of arrangement has to be done. This time, for example, during the COVID time, we have given 25% fee concession to all the students of the college.
Okay.
Not on merit, not on anything else, not on the poor standards, but we have given it to everybody, whether they are they have the capacity of payment of the fees or not. We have given 25% discount in their fees completely. See, this kind of arrangement, probably many parents will not know. Initially, see, any parent for that matter, when they come to a college for admission, for example, they will have two questions in mind. One is, after 4 years, will my ward get a placement? See, ultimately, every parent's wish is to get admitted to a college and then do the studies for 3 years, 4 years, and then go for placement, start earning. That will be the motto of many of the parents. Secondly, how cost effective it is. The studies, the cost of education in that institute, how it is. If it is affordable, if it is having some kind of a concessions like the scholarship schemes, we have a lot of, to the tune of about 5 crores, we give scholarship totally per year. This is from different corners. From our management, we give scholarship, as I told you, on merit. Then we have SC/ST scholarship. We have other fellowships also. Then minority scholarship, OBC scholarship. All such things we arrange from the college side, and then we try to help the student to the extent possible. So these things every parent should know. See, other than that, how the classes are conducted may not be much interested there, because if your classes are run very well, then automatically your placement will be happy. Your placement will be good. So one yardstick which parents will measure is the placement. So therefore, I think parents should know about these things. We conduct exclusive job mela, and we invite about 30 colleges across Bangalore, including the top colleges. We invite them to our campus, and we provide the opportunity for them to face the interviews. 20 such companies will come. It was done in civil engineering. We want to extend that to other areas also. Because any of IT placements, what is happening is large number of placements are happening in the IT. For example, Infosys takes 25,000 students every year, or TCS takes 25,000 students, like that. HCL recruits 15,000 students, like that. The large recruitment happens automatically for the IT sector. But non-IT sector, we are arranging the job mela like this, and we are making them to get the employment. This also every parent should know.
Right, sir. I'm sure this information will help. So, what are the biggest challenges you see both for higher education in general and for Nagarjuna College of Engineering specifically?
One of the challenges, the national education policy which has come in, has given a lot of openings. Now what happens, a student can study, for example, I am saying, courses in a degree, for example, they can study psychology, they can study Indian history or international history, they can study marketing. See, they are totally different fields. Or they can study finance, they can study psychology, something like that. Different such things are possible. Students can opt for any of these things. See, ultimately, what happens is it is a pyramid structure. At the top, when you come, mergers should happen. So, therefore, that specified demarcation will not be there in future. Multiple entry, multiple exit will be there. Student can study for 2 years and exit and do the work experience or earn for his family and then come back after 2 years and then continue his studies. All such provisions are given in the NEP. So implementing the NEP is a challenge only because we should have more and more resources. See, if I can offer like these different courses, students will not select just one course like physics, chemistry, mathematics. No, every student will not study the same thing. They will study different things. So I should have teachers who can teach different subjects. That means the resources arrangement also requires to be attended to. So therefore, there are challenges like this. Number one. Then the biggest challenge is the skill development component that should be there in the students. So unless we give our orientation towards that and make the students to have good skilling, it will be very difficult in the future days to come. So this is another thing. Then the third part is, of course, it may be very little, but international universities may come to our country and there may be more and more competition. So when you are competing with an international university, naturally your standard of education will be very high. Your all other parameters definitely will be very good. So you need to raise to that level. You have to raise that bar to that expected level of the international university. So therefore, that is another challenge. It's not that it is not possible. It is possible, provided everybody, every stakeholder in the education system will put their effort in the right direction in upskilling the students. So therefore, we should do all these things. These are some challenges and threats that we can say, and we should overcome these challenges, and it is possible to overcome these challenges as well.
Right.
Our preparation is required for that.
So, any suggestions you would like to give to the current youth and the aspiring students?
Yeah, students, youth, that time is the precious time for them. They don't have much responsibility. Parents are taking the responsibility. Therefore, the time that they spend on campus, they should utilize very well. And that is the learning phase, learning stage. They should learn as much as possible. Apply what they have learned in the real society problem solving. These are some things which are very essential. See, anybody for that matter, what work we do some work for the betterment of the society. Be it inventing some equipment or a gadget or an app or a software, anything, or an equipment or a machinery, all that is for the betterment of the society. If we can contribute little bit for the betterment of the society, then that is the best part. See, our students, that's why we have introduced one course called the Integrated Rural Development, wherein our students should go to the rural schools, rural health, primary health centers. They should go to the rural village panchayat office. They should find out what problems they are facing. Maybe they may have some drinking water problem or a drainage problem or a street light problem, any such problem. Our students should find solution for that. One example I'll give you here. To one school, our students went there. They were from some department, electronics or some department, they went there. They saw that there were 3 computers in that school. It was all kept in the headmistress room. 3 teachers were there in that school. It's a village school. All the 3 teachers, they don't know how to operate the computer. Somebody donated the computer and therefore, or some company donated the computers and they have kept the computer. They don't know how to connect them to the PowerPoint. They don't know how to connect the mouse, and they don't know how to operate the computer. So when I went there to that school, I understood the real problem. Then I came back. I called the HOD CS and then told them to go to that school with a set of students who can teach that teacher. Those teachers, 3 teachers, conduct one session for them how to operate the computer. Basically, then how to access the internet, how to create your own email, how to send a mail, how to receive mail. All such things we have taught them, and they were very happy. They said all these computers were lying idle, but your students came here and they have taught us this. Similarly, in another school, very interesting. What happened is our civil engineering students, they went to the rooftop of the school building. They saw that the overhead tank, which was not covered at all, it was an open overhead tank collecting lot of such dry leaves, straws, wood straws, and all such things, all dust, everything was there, and that water was being used for drinking purpose of the children. Our students went up and then they cleaned all that overhead tank and they closed the tank with some wood and sheet, things like that. Then they told those teachers, please get it cleaned at least every 3 months or 6 months, depending upon the cleanliness that can be maintained. See, these are some things which are exposed, which our students got the exposure only when they went there. Otherwise, they will not know all these things. The problems that our people are facing in the village should be understood by our teachers, then they should be understood by our students, then they can contribute for the development of the society. I think that is one major role which is missing in our country. We have to take them to the villages, we have to show them the living style there, how the hygiene can be maintained. Today we talk of all the social distancing and sanitization and all that. But in a village environment, we should also see, how best we can incorporate some of these things.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So moving ahead, I'd like to ask you the last question for the day. So what are some plans that you're currently designing for Nagarjuna College's international affairs and students?
Yeah, this part, I think this question partly I've answered. We are sending our students to the international universities, all that is okay, fine. Now, what happened is when I took charge here in 2011, the college was an affiliated college. In 2014, we applied for autonomy. Then 2015, we got the sanction of autonomy. Before that, we went to NAC, National Assessment and Accreditation Council, for accrediting the college. We got A grade at that time itself. Then we applied to UGC for approval. We got the approval from UGC, and then we applied for NBA, National Board of Accreditation. We got 4 of our departments accredited. All these were in place. The progress was fairly good. Now, my vision is that we should move further. Because of the new education policy, we should have the flexibility of a university. Then I can merge, for example, BCom with computer science, BBA with maybe electronics, or BBA with maybe civil engineering, construction management, something like that. See, all these mergers can happen only when you have flexibility. That flexibility you will get only when you are an university. In the autonomous system, the flexibility is limited because we are governed by the rules and regulations of the university that we are affiliated to. So therefore, that flexibility will be available if we become an university. Our vision is that, we should move towards that and we should achieve that.
Right. Great, sir. So it was wonderful speaking to you, sir, and I'm sure all those information and everything you've shared with us today is definitely going to help the experience of the college. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Manashri, for giving me this opportunity to share some of my thoughts. See, over the years, I have interacted with some students, and I have gained information from them, and I've interacted with the parents. All these has helped me to improve myself.
That's
Ultimately, every day I'm learning. Change is the rule of nature. That is what Bhagavad Gita says. and we should change. When and why we should change? We should change for better. That will give us an edge, and therefore I wish that we should also move towards the progress, and ultimately the country should progress.
Right, sir.
That will happen when individuals like our institution, or individuals like students and parents, all these people, when they grow, no, definitely the country will grow. After all, country means what? It is the representation by the people. So therefore, when all our citizens grow, definitely the country will grow, and that is our wish. We should strengthen our country in all fields and in all angles.
Absolutely, sir.
That is the wish I have.